This is Billy Daniel Bunter back for another episode of the Rave Story TV, and I've got someone very special to me, not just musically, but this man was also the catalyst of me losing 8 stone and stopping drinking alcohol 8 years ago. An absolute legend. Rave legend, jungle legend, drum and bass legend, producer legend, record shop worker legend. Ray Keith, welcome along, mate.
God bless you.
I love you, Ray.
Yes, I love you,
mate.
I love you too. It's nice to be here finally. I see good things happening online for you. And when you asked me, I was pre-exhausted before being exhausted, because I did my live show at the Jazz Cafe, which was absolutely amazing. My sister played for the first time. My daughter sang for the first time. We sold it out again 2 years running. So I thank the Jazz Cafe. But it takes a lot out of you, because it's 6 months worth of planning, practicing. The last 3 months we've been practicing every week with the boys. So I want to thank my band, because it's different from DJing, but oh my gosh, it's such a...
It looks incredible. What you're doing with the live band looks incredible. And the thing was because you said to me, Dan, will you and Sonia come and check out? And I was like, Ray, I'd love to, but I was up in Derby playing. Yeah. And then I saw the hype. I felt your buzz in the internet. And on the Monday morning, I was like, Ray, come and do the podcast. You're like, oh, Dan, I'm knackered. Can we wait?
Can we wait?
Yeah.
And then basically 2 weeks later, which is around about now, I've recovered now. And I thought, you know what? I've got a few projects coming up. And if I didn't do it now, it would have been a good few months down the line. So I wanted to catch the momentum. You're doing a very good job. So that's good. And we're old friends. And I think our journey started... I just got divorced. It was a tough time. We did our first project together. We put out a CD, Blueprint. We've done a couple of Blueprint parties.
Did some events together,
off. And that was great to help reinvent yourself in this thing, because as you know, you have to stay current. I was a Silver Surfer at the beginning of that. You and Sonia helped me. Amazing. We've done some amazing work together. Sometimes... your paths, though, have to go separate ways. Yeah. But we still in contact, and we're doing what we're doing. I work, I've got my little shop at the Rave Story, and I played a couple of years ago. So it's nice. And then I went off and I did my own book. So that inspired me to do that. So thank you. And then the connection that we had was getting you in the gym, which was a big thing, because your thinking was still of a raver and a bit of a caner. And when I had some light-hearted conversations with Sonia about you and do you want to live and what happened to me, I think that was an important moment and catalyst. And I think even at the time Sonia was worried, and then I was like, let's get this stallion in the
stallion, right?
This stallion out.
I've been called a lot of things, but never stallion. But yeah, I remember, because we go back a long time to your early record shop days.
Well, I played, didn't I, upstairs in Labyrinth?
You used to DJ with us.
You were very young then.
17, maybe 17,
16,
18,
17.
yeah.
You were a young boy. I remember climbing up the ladder thinking, what the hell is this? You went Mind Your Head, and I think LSD was there, or someone was there, and I came up and I was like, wow, because there was a few of those hardcore raves that were still very underground.
Yeah, and we were that.
People loved it, because I used to do Slime Time on a Tuesday for Scotty, and it was the same type of vibe. Do you know what I mean? That kind of hardcore vibe, keeping that alive.
Yeah, it was real underground, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was the way, before we get onto your life, it was the way in which you approached my drinking and my weight loss. Because I was spending like £400 or £500 a week on booze, everything I did. Like when we worked together, I remained successful even drinking, didn't I? Like whatever I would touch would always work within my world, within what I do. all of that's down to Sonia, obviously. I was getting the ideas and just going, bam, we're doing this. And I was just drinking constantly. And you invited me round for dinner one night and you were just like, the way you did it, the way in which you did it in your concerned way was like, right, there's your last 2 bottles of wine tonight. You done me a huge curry because you knew I loved eating. And I turned up to the gym the following morning, hanging, bloated, and that was it. We was off, and you give me a good 6 months seeing to in the gym. I then went off, kind of relapsed here and there, but within a few months I'd worked it all out, and that was it. I went from 22 or 23 stone down to 14, 15 stone. Now I'm 15 and a half. I am slightly bigger than what I achieved that time. But yeah, I'll always be grateful. And I always put the pictures up, didn't I? Yeah. I always show me and Ray then and me and Ray now. So our connection is very personal, very deep, and we supported you after your heart attack and you went into the boxing, which we'll get into. But Ray, where did your love for music start?
God. When I was a kid, listening to my mum and dad. My mum and dad came from Mauritius, almost like the Windrush generation, but the Asian version. They went on to be very successful nurses, state registered nurse and registered nurse for mentally handicapped welfare. So that was SRN and RNMS. Both of them achieved high qualifications. My dad also became a new pay shop steward, so he was fighting for the people. My mum became the status of what is equivalent to a sister, which is a matron, and then my dad a nursing officer, a charge nurse. And all my family are quite astute and educated. I was kind of the black sheep of the family. I came from a very harsh background. Unfortunately, my mum and dad split up. My old man was a drinker. He wasn't very nice. Used a lot of violence in the house. But what kept us together at that time was the parties that they had, the Sega music. My mum, I've still got the 7 inches of my mum, and everything from the Jacksons to Diana Ross to, it was the Beatles, Elvis Presley. It was an array of music. And then obviously you had the Sega, which is similar to soca music. And I just loved it, that vibration, you know. And I think the more heartbroken I was as a kid, I think I lent more into music, as we all did. You know, when you come from a broken home, you search for your way out. I was brought up in a very racist England, which was at that time in Colchester, Essex. It was a squatty town. So there wasn't many brothers and sisters in the town. I had to fight my way through school. Got jumped by skinheads quite a few times. Got bashed up by about 6 or 7 geezers one
70s
day.
Are we talking?
Yeah,
right,
70s,
yeah.
Hardcore, you know.
What year in the 70s would you say?
I would say maybe, I was born in 67, so I would say 70, 77, 78, 79.
Right.
You know, you're 8, 10 years old, you're getting back from school, and you become a victim. It was St. Anne's. And that's when I started martial arts. And as you know, in Essex, we love fast cars, loud music, and we love a tear up.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how I survived. But listen, I don't hate anything about how I grew up, even my brokenheartedness as a kid, because I think it's made me who I am today. It gives you more empathy, more compassion, more understanding. I believe also that the mothers and fathers that came over in those days had a lot to deal with. You know, they would have racist attacks in the street. I remember my mum and dad saying to me that people spat on them in the street, which was, you know, that could never happen of today. And they walked that path to make us free. Do you know what I'm saying? So I understand that their frustration and maybe coming home, not that it's right to take it out on your family, but I understand and I forgive them, because it must have been tough because they were only youngsters, you know. My mum was 18 when she had me. My dad was 22. What do you know then?
Incredibly young.
Very young.
That is young.
They're coming to this country for the first time. They don't speak the lingo. They don't know the moves. They don't know the areas. They're just here to help save people's lives. And what an amazing thing to do. And I think I've been brought up with a Christian and Muslim outlook. So for me, it's always been 50-50. And I carry God in my heart. And I think everyone should be able to be who they want to be, whatever pronoun that is, and just be yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because the world is, you know, like we look at Great Britain when we were growing up, and now we've got broken Britain, we've got broken world, and it's a lot worse than what our mum and dads left us in the state that they came over in the first place.
You know what's mad, Ray? The fact that you're saying like your childhood in the late 70s getting beaten up by skinheads and all that, but you're referring to Britain now as broken Britain, even though you went through that, you know?
I think they didn't know any better, because if you look at it, Billy, like if you look at ska music and you look at skinhead music, it's black music that they're dancing to. So it was a level of being uneducated, how a little bit like we were uneducated about diet and food and drink and, you know, binging, having kebab, being sick on the side of the road. Now you look at the well-being and you look at how it's turned itself around. You look at younger kids going to the gym. You look at our age going into the gym, wanting to be cleaner and greener. You look at the Fight Club, which Troy started, which is an amazing feat in itself, which we're all part of. And I think you've got to evolve. You've got to evolve with the music. You've got to change with the times. You and I have adapted through this mad electronic industrial revolution to keep current, because if you're passionate, of course, my left and my right arm is a record player. That is you and I. Yeah. But that's a dying art form, and there's a lot to be said about that. But it's different generations and different courses for different horses.
As we get older, Ray, before we get on to like your passion for becoming a DJ, what you've sparked in my brain there is, as we get older, like I look around me and I see a lot of people of our age who are regressing in their mind frame, and I always want to progress in my mind frame, always want to be positive. I don't want to like look around me and say like you're saying, like even though you went through what you went through, you look at the world now. And I think at our age, it is hard for a lot of people to remain positive and forward thinking. And that's one thing that you've always been. That is one thing that you are.
I think you have to have tools for that. And I think we all start off. I met a Rasta one time, white Rasta at a festival. And he said to me, Ray Keith, no one's born evil, you know. And I looked at him whilst I was eating my lentil and rice and ital food, and I was like, yes, Rasta, you've got a point there, because it's your environment. And there are certain elephants in the room in the music business that covers, whether it's soul, house, hip hop, it's drugs, it's partying, it's not taking care of yourself and its well-being. But I think the forward thinking comes from education, educating myself and going through. I've had ex-partners that have been addicts, which has had an effect on my children, and they have suffered with addiction. They have suffered with alcohol. So I've done neuro-linguistic programming, which is NLP, which changes your mindset. I've done mindfulness. I've done cognitive behavior. And also, you know, Rachel Gow, who's a good friend of mine, Spoonie's missus, Matt J. Lamont's missus, she is a doctor and she does work with dietary prescriptions to help kids with ADHD. It runs deep, you know, like when you start looking at nutrition, you start looking at your pineal gland and you start looking at changing your thought process and not being so backward thinking, then the light bulb switches on, and also I do yoga, so I'm very in tune with the universe. I'm very in tune with what's going on with myself, because your health is your wealth. It doesn't matter how much dough you've got. If you haven't got your health and you haven't got your wealth, you've got nothing.
I love that, Ray.
And that's what I am now leaning towards. And to be fair, Billy, with these bunch of Muppets running whatever countries, they need to look at the working class, people like you and I, that know that what it's like to have, you know, the bailiffs knocking on the door, not being able to pay a bill, not being able to have heating, not being able to, you know, your mum or your gran or your uncle or your auntie not being able to put the heating on or whatever, because they live on a nil to mouth. We shouldn't be living like that. You know, obviously we are privileged to be musicians. We're also selfish, as you know, because there's always a light and a dark, and that can cost us many times. Every day we get up, we roll the dice. You're lucky because behind every great man there's a great woman. You have Son, and you're very blessed with that because you've had an amazing relationship. You've won and you've lost together, because you don't win all the time, but it's how you pick yourself up and how you go again. And all of us have lost. There's or we break even, and we don't do it for money. We do it so we give our peers and the people around us a platform to play, and the next generation. Look how many people you brought in. Look how many people I brought in. Look how many people Mickey Finn's brought in. There's certain people that are at the gateway that can open that door. Some come back and stay loyal. Some do one and you never see them again.
But that's
Some
life.
fall off. But you don't worry about that. What our job is to bring people forward. And we're about the new music. We're about the next generation. And that's why we evolve. Of course, listen, you've got a legend coming on, Mr. C. He's like a god to me. When I see that guy, because I used to warm up for him. And those guys, you know, Paul Trouble Anderson, R.I.P., you know, so many greats that have left us so early. And, you know, Paul Trouble, the way they put the tunes together, the way they put two records together and make it sing, and it's a mix for 3 minutes. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
You think music keeps us young, and that's why we, no matter how old we get, we keep this frame
keeps
of
us young. Look at Rodigan. He's still...
No, but inside, we might be getting older, but our view of the world and our positivity...
I think that's a good anecdote, but I still feel that as long as me and you get up in the morning and you feel it, and you got that bass face, I'm still passionate about it like I was when I was 16. Sometimes I go in my studio, I play a tune, I cry, you know, like that. I feel the music. That's why we connect so much with the crowd, because they are us and we are them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're my youth. I'm your youth.
Yeah,
and I made them tunes because I was feeling what we were feeling, whether it was South London, North London, East London, West London. I always used to make tune for the girls because I knew if the girls were dancing, the geezers would be all right.
Yeah, I see your passion when you're in your studio, and we're moving forward to the studio because I got questions for you. Okay. But I see you, right? There's a few pivotal things when I follow your social media, when you're in the studio and you're looking super cool. Like I
don't mean to look super cool.
No, but you are super cool, right?
Yeah,
don't play your coolness, right? No, it's not a myth.
I'm just me, but
right?
Thank you for the love.
But the vibe, like I just think, go on, Ray. And there was a picture of you and Brian G at one of your live gigs.
Oh yes, that was the first one we sold out.
You and Brian are two of the most passionate people that have come out of our world, right? And you know what artists are like. We don't share pictures of other artists on our page unless we're in it.
That moment, right? That moment, Billy, I was at the Jazz Cafe.
Yeah.
We'd sold it out. I didn't know how the gig was going to go. I was overwhelmed. And when I heard Brian scream, Ray, I looked up, and what you haven't seen...
Goosebumps, look.
I've got them as well. What you haven't seen is I'm crying in his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I'm hugging him so... Are we allowed to swear on it?
Go on, let it out, Ray.
I was so fucking... overwhelmed with emotion that Brian was the first person that I saw that I could connect with.
I'm welling up thinking about the Perry, right?
Seriously, and I didn't let him go. His missus took those photos.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a bit emotional.
Yeah. It was an emotional moment for our music,
It was
mate.
an iconic moment where you see two grown men holding each other. And you know what that hold was? He was looking at me like, Ray's my boy. And what he was saying to me was, you've done it, bro. I can't believe that you're up there singing, hosting, playing, and bringing the music and the vibe, because that music that we made is everything to me. It's everything to our history.
I can see in your eyes.
Yeah, it's but what I'm about is I'm stepping into the future. Listen, what we done from yesteryear, I'm grateful, I'm humble, I will always love. I don't want to recreate that. I want to move forward, and I want to still, dread at the controls. We're here to conquer, and we're here to push forward. We're here to bring it to a next generation. That's where I bring in the two peers, the two godfathers that helped us, made this possible. And if it wasn't for Fabio and Groove Rider, we would not be doing anything. Me and you would either be two places. We'd be in a white jacket, locked up somewhere, strapped up backwards, or we'd be in an orange jacket doing a long period of time. Because those were the only two options available to us with the surroundings that we got brought up into. Do you see what I'm saying?
You've always loved them. You've always just cited them.
They changed my life. They played my music. I followed them. I followed Mr. C and Evil Eddie Richards, and I've got to say Colin Hudd at Heaven on a Monday when it was Land of Oz and Spectrum. And I was 16 years old. My mate Johnny Holmes from Colchester, I love you, bro. He passed away, sadly. He was the guy that got me a job in Colchester at C Menswear. He was the guy that got me my mortgage and my house, and my first son, Aaron, my oldest son, my second son was Jack, and then obviously later on my two daughters that I went to then become a single parent and bring them up for 15 years. But that journey there, bro, and when I got my break from the Crazy Club, and I met Groove for the first time, and I met all these characters like Fantasy and Face and Matthew B and Richie Fingers and DJ Rap and you and Paul Trouble Anderson and Mickey Finn and Cole Cox and also a guy that discovered me was Dave Malone from Colchester. Put me on a little small pirate station.
How did he discover you, Ray?
I used to, mate. This is a nuts one. So I was 14 years old. I used to jump out my bedroom window and wait for my dad and my stepmom to go to sleep. That was a 6-foot drop from the ledge onto the grass. I used to run all the way down Valentine's Drive, down to Ipswich Road, run all the way up to East Hill, and then cut through to a place called the Embassy Suite, and I would see Dave Malone DJ there. These were all the local soul DJs. Mr. Toast used to play there. Sometimes they used to have Chris Hill. This was like a place, the Embassy Suite, where they used to go play.
What year?
This was like the late 80s. Early 80s. So this was going like soul, Case the Weekenders. That was the first time I heard Tony Blackburn on Radio Caroline playing black soul music. And I was tuning in to what was going on as a young man, listening to early 80s soul and pop. But that's where I learned about jazz funk. Obviously, you had Soul Train on Channel 4. So that was kind of my youth growing up. And then I used to have to run home, throw stones at my sister's bedroom window. So she would let me in and she would say, Farad, which is my real name. I would say, Cesar, let me in, Cesar. And she would say, I want all your chicken, Farad. I'd be like, Cesar, not the whole chicken. Or the half the chicken, she said, Farad, I want the whole thing. Otherwise, I'm telling Dad. I was like, okay, Cesar, have the whole thing. So she would let me in. And it wasn't until years later that I said to my dad, oh, you don't know the half of what I used to do. And he went, jumping out the bedroom window, going to bed fully clothed. And I thought to myself, you could have just given me the key.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But he was a big, avid fan of me. I had a love-hate relationship with him where when he was drunk, he was a monster. And as you know, people turn into monsters when they're on the sauce and up on the jolly and they hurt people in an indirect way. It is an illness, but you choose to be ill. You choose to say yes or you choose to say no. And in the end, he chose to say no. He went to Mecca Medina, put his head in the Kaaba. For some reason, he said the crowd parted. His English wife, he took her with him, stuck his head in there, stuck her head in there, and came out and never dropped and never drank again, not a drop. And these old boys, they used to drink teachers and whiskey neat, you know, with water sometimes. Hardcore drink and still drive a car back in them days, which wasn't ideal.
Yeah, my dad used to drive drunk.
But they weren't drunk because they held it very well.
They held it, but they was drunk, really.
But they wasn't slurry drunk like you would catch people. They might be a little bit off key, but maybe their concentration of trying to be so straight and fighting it all the way. And then maybe when we weren't around, then they were proper lean.
I get that. So Dave Malone discovering you and giving you your break.
That geezer, Dave, wherever you are, I want to hail you. Also, back in the day, Dave Lee, who was obviously running Republic Records.
Yeah, legend, mate, legend.
Mate, I used to go around his house and he used to sort me out the promos. And that was in Colchester, so I've got to say thank you to him. Also, my mate Stephen Bain, and also at Oscar's nightclub, there was a geezer called Buster, who used to be on Radio Orwell. And I used to go and do the record shopping regularly. I used to go to Jiff's, Chadwell Heath. I've got to shout out, I've got to say, at the last party, where did I see you? It was the birthday party for Mr. Happy, Epidemic.
Right, Grant.
And I was on stage.
Mr. Happy. Mate. Oh, Grant, you've just Mr. Happy'd him off. He's on the podcast in a few weeks. Yeah.
Tell him I said hello. No, I showed my respects. He's been around a long time.
Oh, come on, he's a legend.
I was glad for him that he had a successful party. And this geezer come up to me and went, "Oi, Ray, do you remember me?" And I was sitting down just listening to Groove Rider play because I like to watch DJs. I like to listen. You know, I'll hang about for Brian. I'll hang about for Frost. I'll hang about for Ryder. You know what I mean? I'll hang about for Fabio because I know I'm going to hear something that's going to inspire me to go in the studio, you know. And then he went, "Oh, right, don't you remember me?" And I was looking at the brother. I knew who it was, but I didn't want to offend him. It was Roland from Grange Hill.
Of course, Roland from Grange Hill, MC for me.
I was like, "Mate," and he was like, "Yeah, Billy got me out of retirement." And went, "Come on." And that guy knows a lot about music, just like Steve Davis, because Steve Davis used to go to Chadwell Heath's. And I'm talking about in the 80s.
You're talking about the snooker player.
Yeah.
Steve Davis. His knowledge is amazing.
Black music than probably me and you put together. But he's an avid, like David Rodigan. He could tell you who played saxophone, who produced it, because he's a specialist now in Northern Soul. I want to shout out as well one of the earliest people that believed in me and helped me, and that was Phil from Basement. He helped me put my labels together. And if it wasn't for people like him, I wouldn't have been able to have a gateway to bring people that I knew like Dillinger, Lemon D, Photek, and my mate Solomon as well, who did Right On, you know, Origination.
Yeah.
He used to go to a club that I used to play at in Ipswich.
Yeah.
Phil Hills, who's sadly passed away now. He gave me my break when I was 18 years old, an all-black club in Ipswich called Cinderella's.
Right, that's what I wanted to know. Your first
and then I
gigs.
used to play in Colchester, Laristos. There was another dude there that gave me my name because I had to have a white name to get in the club, Billy. That's how much friction there was, you know? Like I had to adhere to certain things to go, okay, I can't really be myself. So he was one of the earliest DJs at Laristos. He said to me, what name do you like? I went, Ray. And I went, Raymond. I've got a mate called Raymond. He went, right, Ray. He went, what's your surname? I went, Duke Keith. He went, that's it, Ray Keith. Boom.
Boom.
And then I was like, what? I played at the Tartan House. Dave Malone put me on at the Tartan House with underground radio, East Underground Radio, and would you believe it? We were playing. Colin Hudd was playing. I was playing after him, and Simon Cowell turned up with Sunita, and he was ready to pay to get her to go on for 15 minutes. But Dave said, no, we can't change.
Do you remember what kind of tunes you were playing?
That was 87, 88.
Right.
That was, you know, those days there when we used to do Astoria and we were doing Weekend World and we were doing Amnesia House, and it was just an amazing time for the coupling of all sorts of people to come under one roof. It didn't matter what colour or race you were, whether you were old Bill, whether you were a lawyer, whether you were a cleaner. We didn't give a shit. We was just dancing.
Yeah.
Do you want a drink, mate?
So what was your first experience of those early acid parties that made you go bam?
I was going to heaven, and I saw lasers for the first time when I got in there when I was 16. Johnny Holmes took me. There was an entourage of all of us. They were all popping pills, and I was just there.
88 or 89?
I was 87,
Right.
as early as 86, 87, because this movement was already underground. You remember Jack your body. That was already coming out, 86, 87, Chicago House. So I was already on that vibe. Do you know what I mean? There was, I remember playing a big tune, Love Is a Big Thing, Lisa Stansfield.
You love that.
The Blue Zone.
Yeah, Blue Zone.
And that
before
tune was like an anthem, an underground anthem. And then you had your encores and you had your Melissa Morgans and your Tash Anns and your Luther Vandrosses and all of these great artists that we were privy to. And we had a great soul, funk, heritage, T.C. Curtis, Jackie Graham, David Grant, Loose Ends, you know, to name but a few. There was a label called Intrigue from Ipswich, which used to put out amazing soul music, going on to the housey vibes, because it was always kind of crossing over a little bit into disco, a little bit into house, an alternative mix. When I heard Anyone Had a Heart by Smith and Mighty, because that's what Renegade Terrorist is based on.
Of course it is.
And that when I told them that, when I told them that, he went, "What?" I went, "Bruv, do you realise what impact you've had on me as a youth? Like, you're like gods to me, bro." And but the sad thing is that a lot of these DJs like Colin Hart, like Smith and Mighty, maybe not so much Massive Attack because they had some bigger hits, but there's a lot of underground artists that don't get the love that they deserve.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things that I love about doing these podcasts, is because all of us shine light on people that aren't your like obvious people that the mix mags and DJs and documentaries have like always bigged up as like the heroes of it all. And I know what Colin Hudd means to you in the same way what he means to LSD. What does Colin Hudd mean to you?
He was a man that I watched grow from the early. It was he's been DJing for a long time. He was doing Canvey Islands well before my time. Soul, rare groove, jazz, disco. They were doing the Canvey Island with Chris Hill, you know, some John Leach, some amazing artists that was there, but even before us, and championed that. And I remember him telling me about Paul Oakenfold going, "Oi, see all that music you play, that whatever you're playing, I'm starting a night at Heaven and I want you to come and play that music." And it's forward-thinking people like him that kind of changed the face of what and where the music direction went. And he used to come and buy records off of me. And I was in such a privileged position because I used to go to Black Market. Before I got to Black Market, I did 5 years at City Sounds. I used to have to put one of everything in what they used to have the top 15 DJs in the world. So Pete Tong at that time was going on Radio 1, Jeff Young, Bob Masters, Simon Dunmore, Eddie Gordon, Johnny Walker. I my memory fails me. There's a few others. I said Simon Dunmore.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
I said Bob Masters. There's a few others.
What year did you start in City
87.
Sounds?
You're talking 87. 86, 87, I went there. Andy Thompson was there. He then went on to go and work for FFR. Obviously, Pete Tong had FFR records. But the beauty of that was, as I was putting one of those Lil Lewis, whatever that tune was, Derek May, Juan Atkins, Kevin Saunderson, I'd take one. I'd give one to Fabio, one to Groove Rider, one to Frost. I remember Frost turning up one time when I was playing the Breakfast Club. Hooded up, out of nowhere. Yeah, Ray, I'm coming to Black Market. I'm coming to City Sounds. I want you to sort me out. And there was times, Billy, where there was one copy and I thought, I can't keep this copy. I've got to give it to Groove Rider to play. And he realised that. Only years later when I did my book and we were doing the interviews, and he went, Ray, that shows you what type of testament you are, because I feel that music needs to be shared and it needs to be given. It's no good me having one tune in my box and no one hearing it. You got to give it to him. And he was, at that time, like, people would queue and stay in the dance till 4, 5, 6 o'clock to listen to that geezer play.
Yeah.
Because what he was delivering, him and Fabio was the light and the smooth. But you, on Monday morning, would be searching, because there was no internet. You'd have to go around to about 15, 20 shops. And that was your networking. That was your social media. That was how I met people. And you would go, oh, I bought this record. I mean, the first record I bought, I went to Bluebird. And that was before I met anyone. And it was bum 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 bum
Yeah.
bum.
Rhythm is Rhythm, yeah.
Mate, and when I heard that tune, I knew I needed that tune. I drove all the way at the time with my girlfriend's That's a Mash Up, Twist Up, That's and Sherry. And I drove all the way to Edgware. I didn't even know where I was going, Billy. I'd never been to London before. I got there at 10 o'clock in the morning. I did not leave that shop till 6 o'clock, and he played the tune. And as he played the tune, I ran up to him and went, mate, that's the tune. He goes, I've only got 2 copies of this. I was like, brother, I need that tune. And that tune, would you believe it or not, I took a coach load of people from Ipswich to go to Bedford to play for Kenny Khan at one of the first house parties that he put on. There was only 40 people in that dance, but that tune changed my life.
So, Ray, how did you get the job in the record shop in City Sounds?
I was working at C Menswear. I managed to get a house. My girlfriend at the time got pregnant with my first son, so I needed to pull my finger out. My arm man looked at me and went, right, you've got to man up, go and buy a house. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go and buy a house. Go and buy a house in Clacton-on-Sea. I was 24 years old. And at that time, I was DJing all over. I was DJing in Ipswich for extra money over the weekends. I was working 5 days a week. I was DJing in Colchester, at Laristos, at the Works, at the Tartan House, and then dotted around, started playing for Stu Banks, Eclipse, as early as that. And then one day, Buster took me up to City Sounds because I was already shopping there. And then suddenly, they went, right, Thompson's leaving, you can do 3 days a week. And I managed to get in there, and I managed to get into full-time 5 days a week. And all the people that I worked with there, Paul Woods, who was my right-hand man, he was very, very dear to me. There was a few other people that I worked with, but Paul, it started off with me and him. He was the new kid on the block. I was there, and I didn't have a very nice experience. I had to clear chewing gum off the floor, and the people that were responsible at the time for the employment, they apologised for the way they treated me, because it was a little bit of a macho man up. And I guess, it's like that whole power, belittling, ego, which there is in the music scene, as you well know.
It's rife in the music scene, yeah.
And that's, like, mate, if you come with that shit with me, that's not happening.
Because your time there is iconic. Anyone who was buying records. So what year did you start there? 87, 88?
86, 87. Colin KCC used to come in. Frankie Valentine used to come in.
Frankie Valentine.
And that brother there knows tunes, Billy. That guy there, he said some beautiful words to me. He said, Ray, a very softly spoken, beautiful man used to come and say, Ray. And he used to buy Jungle, but not necessarily play it. Like, he bought everything. He knew what was going on. He knew them tunes. And he was so forward thinking. But he said to me, Ray, whatever you throw at the wall, you stick with it until something else comes along. Then you throw that at the wall and then you stick with it.
Yeah, I'm so happy you mentioned KCC.
Listen,
because
Colin,
there's a name
them
there.
man there, Mr. G. Different level sound system guys. Also, me and Nicky and I, we were frontline All Saints Road. We used to play on CMC Sound. I got CMC Sound, the Residency in Clacton-on-Sea. Everybody's connected. Do you know what I'm saying? And what I'm proud of, like most of us, the legends of keeping this beautiful scene alive is we don't just go away for a few years and go and do something else. Whether I've been broke and nearly lost my house, as you have, whether I've gambled and thrown that dice and it's won or it hasn't won, I've got to say a big shout out to one of the early kings of the North, DJ SS, doesn't get enough love, what he should do. That geezer helped pioneer this sound. Everywhere where we've been, Miami, from the record shop formation to, you know, the partnership that he had with Tanya and the agency. These are big dogs, man, that helped the foundation. Brian G, another, you know, guy that helped me and, you know, gave me the residency at Movement. I've just been so blessed. I had the residency at Movement, the residency at Paradise, the residency at Laserdrome. These are iconic places. Sometimes it does jar me that I see these old promotions coming back and they're not using the real DJs. And I think that's a travesty because you're just basically diluting your own brand and you shouldn't really do that.
You want to keep it authentic.
No, I say bring the old and the new.
Yeah.
But you can't just discard people that played for you, that built the foundation, because history doesn't lie. You're going to go back to the tape packs and go, well, where's half the lineup then, bruv? You see what I'm saying?
I get it.
And I think you've got to, of course you can't, listen, we were the new ones. We are hungry. You have to work, you have to hand the baton, but the baton needs to be earned, you know? And I think that is where there's a disparity. If you don't have any history, if you don't have any connection, if you don't sow the seeds, then how can you have a legacy?
Yeah. Well, we've worked hard, didn't we? How hard have we worked?
Fuck
We're
the
lifers.
algorithm. I'm not interested in your
We
algorithm.
are the algorithm. We're our own algorithm.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it needs to come from talent. It needs to come from your soul. It needs to come from within you. And you have to make mistakes. You can't just be a program machine. And I don't plan none of my sets, Billy, like you. I go on, like the other day, you said to me, you made it so difficult for me, Ray. And I was like, but I know it isn't, because you just have to work harder.
We're doing back-to-back in Ibiza, aren't we?
Are we?
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Listen, I've got to shout out Andy Manston and Danny Clockwork, and I've got to shout out Club Orange, Chris Paul. These people, also Neville Amnesia House. These people, bro, they changed our lives.
I love them.
You know, they're just lovely, nice people. It's so good to see their journey on a clean and green one, which we're all in. We're now listening to the music with a different set of ears, with a different type of love. I played it just before Mr. C, and I come off the decks and I was crying and I was playing them tunes because I lost a lot of people like you. My mate Johnny Holmes' wife was there. All the cultures to contingency was there. I'm taking my sister for the first time on holiday with me to Ibiza. for the whole week. I'm going for a whole week. I'm playing a couple of parties. But these guys, man, they just make your heart sing, don't they?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get to play those tunes again, but we know what they mean. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
they
mean?
mean even more now to people.
Oh, gosh.
Ray, I'm not letting you get away with answering certain inquisitive questions I've got about the record shop days in
Yes,
City
please.
Sounds before we get onto Black
Yes.
Market and before we get on to your DJing in that period. I said that your moment in City Sounds, as was Black Market, is so iconic, right?
Thank you.
And you had a knack. Like, I went in City Sounds, and especially on a Saturday afternoon when that shop was rammed out onto the road, right, with people descending onto that shop, your style of hyping up a record shop.
I learned that from Dodgy Dave because that's what we were taught to do. You play the tune, and when the bass dropped, everyone was like, I'll have one of those. And there was a method to the madness because basically, listen, everything we do, we are tested all the time. Through your career, just as a footballer, just as an artist, you are tested time and time again. What are you worth? Are you going to come through? What have you got? Do you know what I mean? What makes you different from the rest? And that's what Mickey said, Mickey Finn. We are all individuals. We have our own style of playing. We know how to lay down wax. Do you know what I mean? We are slayers. We are gladiators. We know how to whip up the crowd. We know how to bring it down. And we know when the next legendary DJ is coming on, we're not trying to take him out. We're bringing it down. We're leaving everything in neutral so you can go on and have that impact. And thank you very much. So like the other day, I was waiting for Groove Rider. He looked at me in the corner. He's like, well, you ready then? And I was like, because I'm giving him his space. I don't want to cram him and stand next to him and stick my USB in and start looking at tunes. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a polite, blessed, lovable DJ, and I respect the next DJ. I'm not worried about me, and I don't want to talk to you when you're on the decks. I'll talk to you afterwards. I'm here to perform. I'm here to do my job, and I want you to do the best job that you can do. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We have a little hug. And then I'll say goodbye, and I'll leave you to it, and then I'll go in. Maybe I'll say hello, son, bye, son, and then you're in your element because that's what you need and where you need to be. But that whole thing of learning how to play the record, but like I said, it was a double-edged sword because distributors would come into me. I might hear a tune like Made in 2 minutes. I'd hear the tune and straight away I'd go, I need 100 of those because I know by the time that goes round to the West End, everyone's going to be looking for that tune by Friday. So I would take a risk and I would say, Dave, I could buy these tunes right now for £1.50, cash. And he went, what? I went, cash, 1.5. They'll take that. I'll take 100. So by the time it got to Nicky, they were all fucked because they'd only have a box between them. And I would have that 100 and I would be selling them like hotcakes. And that is how I've got an amazing A&R. You give me 10 tunes and I'll tell you which one's going to be the hit. And you've either got that or you haven't.
Yeah, it's a skill.
You need to be able to go, actually. And that's why we're still cutting tunes now. That's why when you go out and you listen to all of us, you go, bloody hell, these guys are still doing it because we're that passionate.
Yeah. Well,
We
passion's so important.
And that's where I got that. And it wasn't nice the way they sacked me. I went to the Christmas party. No one talked to me. I felt a bit awkward. And then
What year was this?
So I made Renegade Terrorist in 1994 and I went to Black Market 1992.
Yeah, I remember you 92
So it was
in Black Market.
1992 Christmas. No, 91 Christmas going into 92. And then they went, Ray, you need to go to the office in the morning and John wants a word with you. That was John from Greyhound. I walked through the office and went, Ray, I think you know what I'm going to say. You're too big for the shop, but you're going to do all right, son. Thank you very much. Mate, I was broken-hearted. First person I rang was my dad. And I was gutted. I'd had a family. It was my first Christmas. Obviously, I had my severance pay, and it was awful. I've never felt that lowness of what am I going to do now? And it was heartbreaking. And then I rang Groove Rider. Groove Rider's like, we're going to boycott the shop. But my old man went, listen, best way to hurt them is in the pocket. Don't need to go around there, do anything silly. You're young, you're stupid. That'd be a stupid move. Hurt them in the pocket. So the first call was to my dad. Second call was to Groove Rider. Billy, in those days there, I was writing the number down. My brick phone had run out of battery. I had to 181 or 141 or whatever the operator was at that time. I've rang the operator, asked for Black Market's records number, sweating in the phone box now, like it's hot. I'm getting flustered. I got the number, I managed to write the number down. I phoned it, rings, 3 rings, picks up. Hello, my name's Ray Keith. Can I speak to Dave Piccioni, please? Oh, it's you. Oh, I heard you lost a job. Come and see me Monday and I'll give you a job. Changed my life.
Brilliant. Do you think, in that, because we got to talk about the producing, your early records as well. Do you think there was a bit of jealousy about how known you was getting, how big you? Why?
I think that was the bit.
You were so
everyone is scared of change, and everyone is scared of something new. Everyone was gutted that I got the chop from there. And Pete Tong signed my record 1992. I did a remix of "Got to Keep the Fire Burning" with Baby D, Let Me Be Your Fantasy.
The Orbital, you did Orbital.
And obviously I did the remix of for Floyd Dice of Let Me Be Your Fantasy. And even then, it's forward thinking. When I listen to them records, I'm like, bloody hell. But I was always pushing, Billy. I didn't know about reggae. I love breakbeat. Hip hop was my thing. Shout out to DJ Pogo from the original, London Posse crew. All of those guys, they inspired me. But Pogo used to come to Colchester. I used to book him. The Mackenzie brothers in Colchester, I used to put parties on. Big shout out to Smelly from Colchester. Greg Holbrow, R.I.P. I was putting parties on in 85, 86. So I'd hire places. I'd put the lineup together. These boys would pay for the lineup. And I didn't even mix those days. I was on a fader. Big shout out to Tony, who taught me how to mix in, I've forgotten where it is now. It was going out towards Sudbury and them sides. Or was it going out towards Norwich? I can't remember now, but I think it was Tony Seeger. And actually I learned how to put two beats together, because obviously I used to follow DMC, and that's what you used to watch. I became a turntable technician in the early days, and I could do stuff. I got to shout out the Brown brothers, who I went to school with, because they used to come round and watch me play. And at that time, they used to get the Centreforce tapes, which was Paul Trouble Anderson. And how I got my break was there was Les, my mate Les and my mate Marcus. I was at their party in their house, and Alex P and James were there. And I'm not joking, Billy. One deck was there and one deck was there. And I would run across the room, get it in the mix and bring in the fader. And they went, how the hell would you do it from that far to that far? And they went, you play like Paul Trouble Anderson. I didn't know who Paul was. They gave me my break at the Crazy Club at King's Road, but I never went to King's Road. I then went to Busby's. Carl Cox was playing downstairs. I was playing upstairs. I just played all the most popular tunes, and I cleared the dance floor from downstairs to upstairs. Yeah. And they came in and they went, see you got the Residency. Because
your Crazy Club Residency is legendary in London.
They gave me that.
What year did they give you that? Late 89, early 90?
Yeah, that was 87, 88. 87, 88. 87, 88.
Right.
And that was Carl Pearson James, originally that kind of, with Alex P, that discovered me. And I'd never looked back, because they went, right, you're going to do Busby's on a Friday night. you're going to do, you're then going to do Astoria on a Saturday. Then you're going to do Limelight Sunday afternoon. And Busby's on a Friday would go in till the morning. And that went right through till the morning. So I used to go home, get some kit, come back, and then go right through the weekend and then work Monday to Friday. And then I used to do Slime Time sometimes on a Monday. So I was mash up, and I wasn't taking no drugs. I was just
because you've never been an E-man, have you?
I mean, Ryder gave me my first spliff, and I ended up instead of going to Colchester, I ended up going halfway to Norwich.
Right,
sand in my eyes, falling asleep, and I smoked weed. I was an avid smoker for, it was nuts. Black market. People were giving me fivers. I was giving them 20s back. It was just a cloud of smoke. We were all smashed. I don't know how we got away with it, but what a great era to grow up, how to be free, to be, and it wasn't about colour. It was about just being one. We didn't give a shit what colour you were. It didn't matter to me that Mickey was white or he was Chinese or he was brown or he was black or he was this colour. We were all one.
Well, that's what the whole buzz and the ethos and everything.
88, 89, Summer of Love.
What it was all about. Right. How did you get into them first lot of productions?
Well...
Which was 1991. It was
I'm going to go
with
right
Aston,
back.
wasn't it? 91. Aston.
Aston was paramount in my... But before Aston, I also worked with Cole Tough Enough Brown because he was one of the residents at Astoria. He used to play for Rebel MC. That was their DJ, as well as Ron was. I started with a guy called Conan. He took myself and... Solomon into a studio for the first time. I don't know whatever happened to that, but we made a couple of tunes. Nothing ever came out. And then basically, I then got in the studio with Aston. Aston was my first engineer. And then there was another engineer, which unfortunately died. His name was David, and he was the one that they set alight in the phone box. And he used to work at Noisegate Studios because he was suffering from some mental health. Do you remember that guy?
Right, yeah, I remember the
And
story.
he was working at Noisegate, and then I was working in between him and Aston. Aston then took on the name Acid Aston because it was hardcore and ravey. And he helped me with a lot of my early mixes. I worked with Pete Parsons. I worked with Lemon D. I worked with Dillinger. I worked with Photech. I discovered him on the road, and then I found my partnership with Nookie for 15 years, and we never looked back.
Yeah, legendary partnership.
Yeah, I mean, he always used to bust my balls, obviously, because he wanted me to be a better producer. But it was a release for me. I made Renegade Terrorist in 4 or 5 hours around his house. Dark Soldier and Chopper I made with Lemon D, because my stuff is very clinical and simple. It doesn't have to be too complicated as long as it's got a vibe. And that's how I make my music, is a vibe. But I've been blessed, Billy. And also I didn't get the love. I wasn't getting booked. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to slaughter you with my tunes.
When you say you weren't getting booked, you're forwarding to 94 times now?
Yeah, 93, 94. But you
hang on. 1991.
Yeah, there was a lot
you
of
was everywhere. But you were in London, maybe.
Yeah.
You was everywhere to us.
Certain places, but there was other places that I just never used to get booked. But the double-edged sword is everybody be playing my tune, so it was like I was there anyway. But and also there was a lot of ego. Used to go to music house, everyone be cutting a tune and you can't get one. So I was like, fuck you, I'll go home and I'll make a rhythm. I'm going to burn you, bruv. So when I see you in the dance, you're going to be like, right, what's that? But the first few people, my hit list was obviously Ryder, Fabio, Randall, Brian and Frost and Kenny. And they were my imminent ones that I know that I would give it to. I'll give you an example. Sponge, I did and this is the other thing. They don't know when you do the mix because they're like, oh, I'm not sure. So I'll give you an example. I've done a remix of Sponge's tune Keep coming.
Yeah.
But at first, they didn't want to pay me. And
That was a
Face
tune.
So listen to this. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Boom,
Yeah.
boom, and Breaking Glass. I took that sample, I think, from Hazel O'Connor. I'm sure I did. Or maybe I took it from Gary Newman. I can't remember. But anyway, I took it from... Because I'm an avid sampler. So anyway, that tune, and Top Buzz, that tune, we were all played at Amnesia House. Every single one that day, and we were doing 2-hour sets, 5 or 6 DJs, everyone started with it. Doc Scott rang my phone on the Sunday and went, Ray, what's that tune everyone's playing with a broken glass? And I went to him, I've got the DAT, bro. I'll cut you a plate and I'll leave it at Music House. I've got to shout out Chris and Paul. Those two guys used to say to me that I don't need anybody, do your thing, believe in yourself, because when you're growing up and you come from a broken family and everyone wants to be loved, Billy, and when you're not loved or you're left out, it pushes another button of self-destruction because you're not old enough to deal with the insular thought process. Do you know what I mean? And I've had a lot of loss in my life, and if you watch many successful people in their life, they have great losses, and that great loss is what pushes you on. You know, my mum died, my dad died. I was in very destructive relationships. All my kids, you know, my daughters were in bad spaces, but have come through and looked so amazing. But I made that decision not to jump into any relationship and make sure that I put them first, because I think they deserve that.
Yeah.
And I've got time for my life. Those years, Billy, as you know, you and Sonia, you've been doing what you've been doing, and you've raised a lovely boy and a lovely girl, but you're one of the few that are able to do that in a beautiful surrounding. And it has its challenges, of course it does.
Of course.
I'm not saying it's perfect, but when you do it all on your own and you are the mum and the dad, it's hard.
Yeah, you know what's mad, Ray's like...
I've got to take this.
How
these lights,
they are all right, aren't they? That's why when people watch this, I have little bits of sweat now and again going, damn it, I did say to you, as cool as you look.
Yeah.
Do you know what's mad, Ray? Is like you think of how geeky I am about all of my mates' careers and all the musics, and I can talk to you about the records you made in 91 and 93 and pivotal moments. And
well, you and Doug's are like walking encyclopedias, because you know I'm not as deep as... I know the tunes, but a lot of stuff I was getting was white labels,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't have clocked the label. See what I'm saying? But you guys are encyclopedias of our music scene, and we need that.
And even with like, as you know, we're talking about like the early 90s now. We're talking about a period 35 years ago, 36 years ago. And the thing that is fascinating about all of these interviews is how my friends see parts of their career. So in my head, I'm just seeing like News at 10, through to Terrace, seeing you like resident at Busby's, Astoria, seeing you on Big Helter Skelter, seeing you on big raves, right? So in my head, it's Ray. It's always, you know, it's always been like bam. But I think what's really, especially with someone like you who's like really matured in your thoughts and they're really spiritual in the way you look at things, the way you've like look at your children, the way you look at the future of your life. And I think it is really interesting that like you don't see certain moments, you see moments as, well, like I weren't quite doing it then, and it weren't quite happening the way that I wanted. But in retrospect, looking back, you've always been there.
Yeah, I guess on the outside looking in, but that's how lonely this business is, because I've always been a boat by myself with a few shepherds watching over me, but it's the tenacity, it's the balls of steel, you've got to make those decisions. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was a time when I was offered a residency at Heaven, and I thought to myself, do I take that house residency or do I keep going? Jason Kay and Groove Rider both said to me, and Mickey, Ray, you need to come out of London, you need to get up in the M1. When I went to Amnesia House, wow. You know, that just opened up another door for me. Do you know what I mean? And I'm forever grateful. I always play the light and the dark. It's funny now listening back. It's mad, Billy, because sometimes, because everything's online, I get to go back and I get to listen to where I was and what did that mean that time? What was I thinking that time? Because as you come to end of life, and I'm not saying this is imminent end of life, but what I'm saying is these are the years, the penultimate years that you look back and that you reflect and that you think, when was I a dick? Why was I like that? And because my children have now gone, I've now got time to analyze and think about me for the first time. What do I want to do with my life? Where do I want to be in my life? What I do and I don't want in my life, what type of people I want around me, and what type of people I want to work with and work for. And I've got choices now. And I think those choices are important.
Yeah.
Because the dress rehearsal is over, and whatever we do now, it's already written in stone.
Yeah. Do you know what I always say, Ray? We, and I'm not being morbid, I'm saying this in like an inspirational way, we have got more time behind us than what we have in front of us at our ages. So we better make that time in front of us even more magic than that amount of times we just experienced.
Hallelujah. I mean, you know, another great guru is Jimmy from Labello. And
love Jimmy, another
mate,
person.
He's changed so much.
Listen,
I saw him. He came to my gig. I was like, I didn't even recognise him. He went, "You didn't even recognise me, did you?" And I went, "I didn't." And I just held on to him. And even that holding on to him, he's another one that always gave me work. I need to shout out as well. Andrew Asamoah, who used to work for Sony. Sometimes, Billy, I was broke and he'd throw a remix my way and I'd really need that money. Do you know what I mean? Because we went through all the remortgaging, really low rates, and then the rates came back and then we were credit carded up and then we had to get through that because we didn't know no better, because where is the light, there's always the dark. But yeah, I look at my life now, I give thanks. You know, 15 years ago, 2012, I had a massive episode. I've got 2 stents in my heart. That changed my outlook. That changed my life. That changed what I wanted to do. I thank God for every day. I am in tune to the universe and I'm grateful. And I don't want to work with dickheads or bullies or people that are derogatory or people that don't believe in the journey, because they've got time to change.
And you don't need to.
No, but at the same time, I forgive them, because everyone's trying to grab what they can grab, because that's how the scene is. It's very grabby, very ego, very me. If you notice, when I post, I'm just being me, bro. And I just want to be like, I want to share the love. I don't want to take all the love. I don't need anything. Do you know what I mean? And I think also for people like you and I, in the pandemic, we realised that we didn't need as much as we thought we did.
Bam.
And that was a big, massive thing. It's funny, I get sponsored and I got to shout out my mate Matt. And I go up there and I just take what I need. And he looked at me the other day.
Where'd you go?
Brick Lane. So
right.
he gives us all the Music House Club Bar that you used to see Randall, R.I.P., and a few others were. And also he gets me stuff from Boy London. So we go there. He gives me loads of different clothes. He goes, "Ray, what I love about you is you just take what you need." There's some people that are a bit weighty that are trying to fit into everything. But do you really need it?
You don't.
You don't need it. And that's what I'm saying. This world, we need less and we need to give more. And I think we need to bring back community-based hubs where you can do music, where you can do fitness, where you can do cooking, where you can integrate, where all types are welcome. It's not based on religion or gender. It's, bring back national service, bring back apprenticeships, bring back certain things where people are working together.
Yeah.
We have got the greatest skilled people from around the world. We're an island. We could be self-subsidised. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's interesting you say about COVID before we get back to Black Market, because I've got more and more geeky questions. It's interesting you say about COVID, because me and Aries were talking about how life-changing COVID was, but for some of us it was a positive change. Like Aries said, he like looks at that period as the catalyst for how Born on Road become bigger, because they kept on working. And like,
well, it was a reset for everybody.
It was a reset, and
I think for musicians it was an ample time, because then people had surplus expendable money because they weren't going out and spending, and everyone was buying online so they could be with their families, and it was a great time to reconnect with the world. I went to Southend and the sea looked blue. It was clear. It wasn't dark and mucky and dirty, and it was a crazy time.
It was a crazy time.
Talking about him, those guys, Lion Fire, Aries, and there was two other guys that
Kelvin and all that crew.
Yeah, but no, before them.
Right.
Oh God, I've forgotten their names. They're going to kill me. But anyway, Lion Fire and Aries, they came round to my studio and I helped school them up with the sound.
He said that. On his podcast.
He was he still does play that jungle vibe. I know they've moved into something else now because it's more corporate and bigger parties, and they do festivals, and everything does change, and people cater for that sound. That's fair enough. But what I'm saying is, we jungled them on up from day one, as I did Blade Runner and Serum, and not so much Voltage. I mean, I guess there was an influence there. When he was working with Cabin Fever, because obviously I was schooling them up as well. It's a big shout out to them. But the journey's been amazing. We've opened the door for a lot of people. The production, what I set out, that clear clinical sound, then became that dread sound, which is now like Metalheads, like V, defiant, strong, brazen, bold, that you can clock that and go, that sounds like a dread tune. And there's a certain way of
just know.
Of course
you just...
Nookie just done a tune, and Hype hit me up for it yesterday, and he was like, yeah, I heard this tune that Nookie played. And Nookie did it for the 30-year tour that we did in America last year. We played with Goldie. It was amazing. Goldie was very sweet. Phoned me a couple of days before my show at the Jazz Cafe and said, Ray, we're proud of you. We love you. Keep doing what you're doing. And it's nice when your peers are, because these guys, I've got to mention him. I've got to mention Det. I've got to mention DRS, because these guys, they've been doing it for years. Like they're showmen. It's a show. Det was doing stuff on Jules Holland like 10, 15 years ago. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's really important, because that helps and shapes electronic music and how we perceive it. I know Liam well. I know Maxim well from Prodigy. They grew up through us. Shades of Rhythm. Enjoy. All of these guys. Like watching them doing their craft, and now me doing my own version of what they're doing.
It's interesting you mentioned showmanship, because I feel that like a lot of us, as we've grown, because some of us have done this a really long time, week in, week out, day in, day out.
We watched the best, bro. Skipper, Shepard. Like I've learned so much from having their presence and doing what they're doing. Of course, there can only ever be one of them, which we're grateful for. Stevie was another one. He was just like exceptional. I think every single artist that has been involved in jungle drum and bass, even the brothers that don't get mentioned as much, Remark, Busy Bee, cutting edge, next level.
Yeah.
Made tunes that stood the test of time. And that are just amazing, and all the unsung heroes that only had a couple of hits and then left us or didn't come back to the music. you know, they, you know, SMF, Guillotine, that tune changed my life. Satin Storm, think I'm going out of my head, changed my life. You know, Reinforced, bangers, changed my life. Nookie, changed my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so many people, you know, Simon Baseline Smith, Palimo, changed my life. You know, Bookham, changed my life. And all of these things are ingrained in us because we are them and they are us.
Do you feel now like with
Johnny L, oh my God, Johnny
Yeah,
L.
proper. Now with like our understanding of our history and working crowds and the, you know, some of us have got a showmanshipness in us. Some of us are like more like head down, rolling it out and playing. But as we've all grown and understood our histories and what it is to move a crowd, I do see like showmanship in you, like when you're doing your live stuff, when you're DJing, you're more concentrated, super cool. And I just think that over the years, we have adapted to our different situations and we've become more honed in on who we are and what we do and what our music
I
means
think
to
we've
people.
become freer and we are allowed to express ourselves as males as well. We were never really allowed to be a certain way or do a certain thing because it would maybe personify some other interest, and that's all bullshit. Just be yourself. Listen, I like wearing black matte nail varnish because I don't like having white nails, because when I'm on stage everything's glistening. So in the 80s loads of geezers had black nails. Do you remember? Like they just used to paint them. I play electric guitar now. My sister plays electric guitar. I've always been a musician, but you are waiting for a validation, but you don't need a validation. Listen, Tom Cruise, I'm doing a lot of film, TV and acting. I'm learning my craft at the moment. That's ongoing. Tom Cruise is untrained, but look at him. You know what I mean? Tom Hardy went to acting school and got kicked out. Do you know what I mean? And it's just a matter of how you express yourself.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to meet some people along my journey that have influenced me, actors, and have had nice, kind words and can see something, and everything happens for a reason. I've just finished doing my GCSE O-level English. I finished that this Friday, just gone, because I wanted to re-educate myself because I was too busy fighting to survive. And the English language is very interesting. And also when you get scripts, it's nice to break it down. It's nice to understand punctuation. It's nice to understand adjectives, adverbs and metaphors and similes and all of these things that you don't think really have a bearing on your knowledge. And it's not everyday use. But if you're applying yourself, you need to have them tools and be ready to learn.
Yeah, I love how you apply yourself, Ray. Even at this age, how like you're doing, you're learning more and more.
I defy the odds of you can't show an old dog new tricks. That's bullshit.
In your case, that's rubbish, because who has a heart attack and a few months later he's out there boxing for charity? Come on.
Yeah, I was. You know what? I've got to big up Madra Moore, my boxing club. I've got 2 injuries at the moment. I've ripped both my scapulars, but that's just through age. It's very painful, but I am going back to it hopefully in another 6 months, year. I'm having physio at the moment, and that's when you know you are living. You and Sonia came to my fight. That you saw the size. No, that was the first fight I had, and that was at York Hall IBA. Sorry, that was a white collar. Then I had an IBA fight. No, you came to my IBA fight. That you came to my second fight. That tall geezer, yeah. That was an IBA fight. And mate, you don't know what it's like until you get punched in the face, and then all the plan goes out the window. I was great. That geezer was not taking it easy on me. If anything, he wanted to prove a point. But we're warriors at the end of the day, and I think as long as this ticker keeps ticking, and I keep pushing and I keep trying to be the best version. Listen, Billy, I'm not perfect, and I'm not the perfect geezer. I've got my faults like everybody, but I try and work on them. Do you know what I mean? Because I want to be the best version I can. And I think other people have issues, whether you're in relationships, whether it's jealousy or whether it's too much sauce or it's too much sniff or it's whatever your demon is. You got to deal with it. And if you don't, as the late great said, deal with the matter and deal with it proper, R.I.P. Skipper, you're going nowhere. You're going around in circles. And then you're going to pass that shit on to another relationship.
Yeah.
Deal with your shit and make sure that you know. And that's what I'm doing, you know. And that fitness, that is, I mean, I did an hour and 20 minutes worth of cardio this morning before I came.
Yeah, because when I rang you was in the, I knew you'd be in the gym, but I thought it was
Mondays,
half 10.
My week is Monday I do yoga, Tuesday I'm in the gym, Wednesday now I do in the gym, Thursdays I do yoga, and Friday I'm back in the gym, and the weekends I rest because I'm working. If I'm going to my acting workshop, which is every Wednesday or sometimes now going to be on a Monday, I drop in. That will suit me because yoga's on a Monday, and I every day is a good day, but every day is a different day. Like I stepped it up today slightly, but tomorrow I'm going to bang it out, and then Thursday I have an easier because I do vinyasa yoga. I've got to shout out my well-being coach, Corinne. She's amazing. I see her once a week, even with my thought process and my learning and being in tune with myself. And the massages she gives me is amazing. And then my physio, I've only seen her a couple of times. And then basically my yoga teacher, she's amazing. I've been doing yoga 4 years now.
Wow.
And I do it every Monday. I'm her longest client. And she just knows me. Like today, yesterday, she steps it up, obviously. But yeah, you just try and live a good life.
There's some motivation, Ray.
Well,
that's
every day I want to be
deep.
doing something, and I want to be, as long as I'm breathing and sitting. Some days I have my off days, like everybody. I might just sit at home, and some days I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to be by myself. I want to cook some nice food, like my mum used to cook me. You know I can cook, right?
Yeah, good cook, old Ray.
I love curries, and I love experimenting. One day, hopefully, have a nice little 25-seater restaurant, and I've got some plans though to do some cooking pop-ups, podcasts that are coming, which is interesting. Got some nice things planned, but the music's been good to me.
Yeah,
it's been an amazing love affair. The production going through everything to now engineering myself and having my label for over 31 years. I've got Dread, Penny Black, Dub Plate Dread, and UFO. Penny Black and UFO I'm actually bringing back. We're re-releasing the entire catalogue.
Brilliant.
On digital. I've got to say a big shout out to Chris Nightforce. What a geezer. He has helped me to put back my back catalogue and helped so many people with his distribution company. In lockdown, he approached me. Floyd Dice is one of my good friends. He did some work with Floyd. And it's just about opening up doors. And sometimes you work with people, sometimes you leave people, sometimes you don't work with them again. And that's all right, because some are meant to stay, some are meant to go, and some are meant to teach you.
But that's
something.
life, isn't it? Yeah. That is absolutely life. Ray, can we talk about Black Market and the vibe of Black Market and yours and Nicky's cohesion together?
Yes.
And did you, when you got given the job, did you know Nicky like well?
I didn't know Nicky.
Right.
I didn't know Nicky, but he knew me, because what he used to say was, because the distributors would say, "No, that Nicky Black Market screwing, ain't you? Because you bought all of them." I went, "Fuck him, give me 200 copies." So I used to start all of them, but I had the dough. Do you see what I'm saying? I had the...
City Sounds had the money,
we were buying records for cash, and I was selling them at 5-6 quid. So they were making 100%. Why wouldn't they buy all of them? And they were flying out like hot cakes, And then I went to meet this guy with some loose cardigan and bending his ear, all like that. And actually, downstairs was hip-hop. So I used to do 3 days a week, and we used to share the upstairs. That's when I met Clarky. That's when I met Nicky. And then we were started to have our own section upstairs. And then Dave went, "This is stupid. The hip-hop's not selling downstairs. Let's move these boys downstairs." And that changed everything. And then we just became a force to be reckoned with. We both got married. We both lost our parents when we were there. We both had kids when we were there. We got divorced kind of towards the end of when Nicky left, and when I stayed on for a little bit longer. But those days, brother, I just, they were my family, you know, like everyone was my family. Kane used to come, and we used to go to the arcades. I used to go to the arcades with Ryder. I used to go to the arcades with a few people. We used to go and eat round a corner. There was an Italian Nicky used to go and eat. I used to go and eat. And we were living our best life, and we didn't even know it because we were living in the fast lane. We were able to open the doors and feed our families and feed other people. The distribution game blew wide open. We then become label owners. We then became CEOs of our own entities. We then walked with pride. We then changed our old bangers into like the best cars that you could ever buy, and go to music house. And these people were just, we loved each other, you know, we fed each other, we looked after each other. And that was, we had each other, and that was nice. There was a few dickheads. There always is a few dickheads. But they soon got shut down, or you get run out of the scene, because we protect our own. It's like a clan. Do you know what I'm saying? Why are you picking on him? Why are you doing? And people will close ranks. And that's how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to look after each other. We're not supposed to take the piss out of each other, and we're not supposed to rob each other, and we're not supposed to, like, you're supposed to share the wealth. And if you can't share the wealth, then jog on, mate.
Yeah. Ray, so Black Market, I know you're going to have like vivid memories of this, right? How we went from being such a strong, like all genres of music in that late 90s, early 2000s, sold bucket. If you had a banger, you'd sell bucket loads, right? Explain watching that transition as record shops started falling, and digital come up.
Well, we went through a phase of ordering from the massive distributors, and then we went into then some of the labels would cut out the distributors and come straight to us because we would pay more for the record and they would get less for the distributor. The distributors, a few of them got too greedy, too many labels, signing everything. Idiots in the A&R not signing the right things, or, signing things for their own gain.
Yeah.
That's what fucks it up, because then you've got an amalgamation of too many records, shit records, flooding the records, just as the internet now is flooded with everyone's a DJ, everyone's not so much an MC, but everyone's a DJ or everyone's an artist and everyone's got their own label. And it's shit. You know, like I don't care what your gender is, where you come from, what your religion is. Are you a bad boy DJ? Can you tell a story and keep me in the room interested? Or are you one of them DJs that just bought 50 records off of Beatpool and now you're a DJ? Because that's not what DJing is about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a beginning, a middle, an end, a story, a legacy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All the female DJs that have come through, you know, Storm, Kemi when she was here, R.I.P., DJ Rap. There was Donna D back in the day, badass DJ, you know. She was drawing tunes, bruv. When I heard that girl play, I was like, she plays better than geezers out there. Lady V-Dubs.
Yeah.
Badass DJ. Because they can DJ. They could tell a story. That's what I'm interested in. That's what makes me go, wow. There's another DJ, Gaia. She's amazing. We have a few, you know, I try and use as many female artists as I can. Sweet Pea, she's an amazing producer. Love what she's doing. Elisa, she's on our label. She's got her album coming out. I'm an avid, I like the underdog.
I've always been like that, Ray, with everything I do.
I'm an underdog. I see myself as an underdog. Even though we're prolific, I still feel I'm still not signed to a major. I'm still independent. I'm still putting out people's music.
How did you meet Nookie?
I got a shout out my boy Peds. You know that tune? So what's up now, partner? Me and Peds go back to the early days of Astoria. I used to see him around at the shops. He used to wear his cap like Matthew B, like that, you know, the cycling caps. One day I parked my car so far away from Astoria, and I was walking down the street with my big box, I see this dude. Oh, here we go. It's like, oi, you, right, you're right. I was like, oh, yes, you. So, do you want to hand me that? I was like, yeah. That was it. We were like shirt and pants since we are now. He started to drive for me. He was from South London. He had a bit of a reputation. He could handle himself. We had a laugh. We were both Leos. And I got him. He used to drive the tubes. And I was like, bruv, you got to come out again. He went away to carry on his normal job, and he knew Nookie because Nookie was working at Red Records, so was he. And at the time, Gachet, who used to come in the shop, who was resident at Astoria with me, he went, I was working with him. And then I was like, Peds, get me in with this geezer, because I was having problems trying to book engineers because everyone was busy. As soon as I got in, I had my dough in my cash always. He loved cash. We just hit it off.
You hit it off, yeah.
We just hit it off, and it was the light and the dark. I knew what I wanted. I'd have my records ready to sample. I knew exactly what I was going to do, and it was a match made in heaven. And I never looked back. And even today, was on my tour last year. 30 years late, it was very emotional. Every time he played the special of Conrad, I was in tears, bro. I was just, and then obviously Randall they were in like conjunction. They'd gone so quickly, and you couldn't even imagine it. So it was such an emotional time. And because we were both sweating a lot, I don't think people could see the tears, but they were tears of sadness because they're not here. But when you listen to the lyrics, bro, and you feel the music as we feel the music.
Yeah.
It was a special time. I'll never forget that, And
Because
when
there's
you
a
lose
real...
a lot,
Sorry, mate, go on.
when you lose a lot in your life, you find solace, and the music appeases you. It brings comfort to you, and I've had everyone's had heartbreaking moments and stories. I'm no different from everyone else, but how it affects you.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can't carry on, and people want to go out on their shield with a bang, and some of them can't even face that through drug addiction, through turmoil, through abuse. And we need to change those narratives because we know more now.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about it as men as well. We need to be more open, and we need to let the youngsters know that it's okay. And we need to deal with knife crime from grassroots. It comes from absent fathers. It comes from a lot of things. It comes from your area. It comes from your peers. It comes from who you're hanging about with. We've got a responsibility as males to help that. Suicide within young males is at an all-time high. Do you know what I'm saying? And also, just let people be who they want to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's important in the way. That's why I set up my mental health charity, Ray, Safe Space Movement, because it's hard for people to deal with.
And harder now.
Yeah, with the world that we're in, and us as music people and the reach that we have, we can create awareness, can't we?
100%.
But
that's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to take it all for ourselves. We're supposed to share it, and we're supposed to pass the baton, and we're supposed to be able to influence now politicians to go, mate, what are you doing? Like, this is what you need to do. You need to help these people. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they haven't got a clue. They come from public school. They haven't got a clue what it's like to be skinned. Do you know what I mean? There's people out there that can't put their light on. There's people out there that can't pay their electricity. Thank God that they're brought back, for the older people that fuel allowance, because we need it. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard, bro.
Yeah.
It's hard for all of us. Gigs are up and down. You don't know whether you're here or there. You put something on, you don't put something on, but you have to keep going because you have to keep throwing the dice. You don't know.
Well, we wouldn't know anything else. It's what we've done, innit? The music, the creativity. You and Nookie's bond is strong, innit? And it's mad to hear you.
Well, he's Mauritian of descendant. His mum is Mauritian and his dad was Hong Kong. And I used to speak to his mum when I used to go around there because I speak patois. And all our connections are strong. You know, I think Bookham said in my in the book when they did the write-ups at the back of the book, the testimonials, that we have an unbelievable bond, and I don't think that era has that bond again. Do you know what I mean? It was nice. Even I saw Robbie Williams bringing out Skepta.
That was brilliant.
Bringing out Wiley, and those things there matter. Those things that, you know, that they come from us. You know, I got to big up my brethren, Mala, N-Type. You know, these guys, game changers. Do you know what I mean? Like in their own field, doing what they're doing. I have to hail up Mark from Iration Steppers, we love you. The original vanguard of dub. You know, these geezers, you know, when I go to his dance and they turn down all the frequency and hail me and it's just all bass going on, I don't even know what to say, you know, because we're just normal geezers, aren't we? We just love playing music. We're passionate about
Well,
music.
Iration Steppers are incredible, aren't they? When you think of the Ital Rockers that they released in 1990, which was Bleep's bass, early rave. So they were a forerunner.
Yeah, they saw dub from a different angle, as did Liam, as did all the electronic artists, and as did, you know, Floyd Dice when he was doing his thing with the house crew. Forward thinking, next level.
Can I say Floyd is a genius?
He is a genius.
Floyd is a
unsung hero,
an
bro.
unsung
He
music
taught me how
writing.
to sing. He taught me how to write structures in my music. He helped me write the Birdman album. He's had some amazing dinners at my house because he used to live around the corner, and I just invite him around all the time. He knows my kids, Mia and Lola. I want to shout out my good friend Andy Pandy, who's been my right-hand man, who's come out and raved with me, and also Ninja Martin, which is one of Mickey Finn's.
Ninja Martin. I love it when people have names like that.
Yeah, he's an ex kickboxer, but a heart of gold. Took me to the first time I ever went to Lahore. Little did I know that my mum and dad used to buy all their clothes from Brick Lane. They used to play a place there called Sammy and Salim, and this place is round the corner. And it was an amazing time. And he took me there for food. So I haven't stopped going to Lahore for the last however many years it is, 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Ray, how did Terrorist end up on Moving Shadow, and did loads and loads of labels want it off you?
Yeah, that was basically Nookie, and then Nookie took it to Sai, Two Bad Mice. Obviously, Sean and Sai were working there. And at that time, I knew that I needed a banger on a big label. And that was one of the biggest labels at the time because they were doing everything. And Gav got me on there. Rob Playford's like, my, you know, you either like him or you don't. We had our run-ins. It's the music business. He was a peer at the time, someone you would look up to. And it was, you know, Voodoo Magic was an amazing time. What he'd done for the scene at the time was amazing. He was very forward thinking, as Dan Donnelly did. Everyone has a different experience, their own experience. And it was always a little bit of a hot and cold kind of relationship. But I had that one tune, and obviously that was a big tune. And also, that was a tune that bridged the gap for D&B, because that was my version of dub. Because I was sick and tired of hearing reggae samples in every single tune and being done badly. So I was like, right, I'm going to do my version of dub. And that kind of brought in the Ed Rush and the Opticals, the Spiral Tribe lot, who then listened to that and went, hang on a minute, I've got an angle here. That's different from everything else. And I've always tried to swim upstream. I'm not copying you. I'm doing my version. Whether I did Sing Time or Terrorist or Dark Soldier or Chopper or Girls Them Want It or whatever I was doing at the time. And obviously 1994, before this lot turned up, we were the kings and queens of jungle.
Yeah.
And I was, at that time, a prolific remixer. I made my name out of remixing. I remixed every man and his dog pretty much. And that was an amazing time.
So, Ray, what was the catalyst for Dread Recordings?
That was basically, I was doing a lot of remixes at the time, and Phil from Basement, I approached him. I watched the film Judge Dredd, and I wanted to have an imprint, a name that would stand the test of time. So Dredd, I came up with that. And also I thought it was a nod to jungle because, you know, you got Bob Marley was chase them crazy barleads out of town. So now I'm the original barlead Dredd, which had a double meaning. And I met Phil, and Phil basically gave me a platform. We had 5 releases on that, bang, bang, bang. The artwork was done by Pez at the time, and also Damien from Paper Graveyard, who took over from him. But those were iconic covers. You know, when you look at those covers and people go, oh, I've got that. And that's what it was about, is about visually having something for the future. And then I had Penny Black, which was the darker side, which was then 10, 15 years, 20 years later was like similar to what Hardware took. And then UFO was experimental. And I think I don't know if I mentioned earlier on, but, you know, I'm on my 55th, 56th independent album as an artist, you know, like when I discovered Twisted Anger and they had the Mexican tune and it was huge. When they did the remix of Something Out There and Andy C kept playing it and everyone did. You know, we've had some amazing moments, and Penny Black was more experimental. And now I'm actually re-releasing my whole back catalogue of Penny Black and UFO. And also through lockdown, we found 125 tracks that never came out.
You've just given me wow moment after 55 albums and 125 unreleased tracks.
That my daughters heard for the first time. They're like, because we were all in the house together and I was playing them. They're like, Dad, you're joking. Dad, what this? What? This has never come. And I was like, no. And I'm so excited and gassed. Everything happens for a reason. You know, them vaults must have been locked for it. And it was supposed to come out now. Because people are trying to make tunes like that from yonder yesterday years. And we've got them.
You've got them authentically there.
It's just being digitally mastered and done. But it's been, you know, the whole thing has been an amazing journey through all the artists that I've worked with, that have influenced me, that I've been with, that have made me take a little bit of them.
You've had some incredible artists on the label.
Yeah, Danny C and Mike Pearce, obviously Blade Runner, Serum, Voltage, which was then Cabin Fever, Lion Fire, which is now Born on Road. Yeah, man, Dillinger, Lemon D in the early days. So, you know, I've got Conrad Subs now, unbelievable. We've got Leaf, we've got 9mm, he's coming through. Big Choc, soulful guy. There was another guy called Pedestrian, musical guy. It's nice to show different faces of the label. You know that Dread sound when you hear it.
Yes.
But he's always got influences of Elshus, L. The Book of L came out a couple of years ago. He's got a new tune. He's amazing, you know. All of these guys, all of these Aggro, all of these guys are just amazing. You know what I mean? Like so many other artists, Hexa, some next level, like future thinking sound. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of these guys, Matt T.I., he just sees it differently.
Unique sound.
Yeah, unique. And when he did Renegade Terrorist, I knew it was going to change everything because he came from a different angle. And that's what we're about. We're not about the years. We're grateful, we're humble, and we say thank you. But we have to move on with the times, and we're always forever forward-thinking artists.
Yeah, what's the secret to having a label for that amount of time? Because there ain't many. There's not many, right?
Well, we share that with Metalheads, and we share that with V Recordings, and we're very, very proud of that. And we are groundbreakers. We break down the barriers of sound, and we're very proud of that. And that is a great achievement in itself, to be constant, to be breaking new artists, to have that imprint sound, and then to showcase. I mean, look at Blade Runner now. He's got his own imprint. He's doing his own thing. I mean, a lot of the artists that we first put out, we lose money because that's just how he is. No one's ever heard of him. Who's that? Is that you under a different name? No, it's Blade Runner. He was known as Big D before. As we take our analog sound to now a physical and digital era of live band, our work is not done. It's relayed again.
I love that.
For another future to come and listen, to learn, to feel. And that, rewinding a tune live. I mean, when Top Cat came out and done Gunark over Dark Soldier, as the Ragga Twins did over last year, it shut it down, bro. Do you know what I'm saying?
Promoting. Do you enjoy promoting?
No, I'm a curator. I'm not promoting.
A curator, yeah?
It's hard work, man. The whole promoting thing. It's just, but we have to, like you said, it's something that we have to do. Otherwise, we wouldn't break new artists. And it was heartbreaking a few months ago to cancel a couple of gigs because we just couldn't do it. And we understand the struggle with people paying a bill and not going out. We accept that. Do you know what I mean? I had to cancel a couple of live gigs and moved it all to the Jazz Cafe because it made sense. We try and keep the ticket prices low, and all our artists work with us. Obviously, we're not paying full money, but they look after us because they know they have an understanding that we are trying to do this for ourselves, and we do it for them when they need us to do something.
It's a hard thing promoting, but it's when you're a label, when you're a DJ, when you're a promoter of the music, when you're in a position like you with a label over 30 years and you're bringing new artists through, you're keeping heritage alive. Promoting is so important because you need people to hear your band live. You need people to hear your new artist live. But it is the hardest part of what me and you and many others like us
100%.
end up
it's
doing.
Not easy, and obviously, we need to work together, help each other. My dream is to have like they did with the garage thing at the O2 a little while ago, and do a live show during the day and then an after party in the evening. Do you know what I mean? So you get to go raving from 2:00 in the afternoon and you finish at 10. So it was like you was going to a concert.
Well, I think jungle drum and bass has got that to do it in. It's there to do something.
It's there to shape it, to do it. It's not easy. I mean, to do that show, it's taken me 6 months and then 3-4 months full of like rehearsals. Like I went to go and see Goldie at in London when he was over, and it was next level. Do you know what I mean? You had 2 drummers, you had keyboard players, and it's how he does it. He's conducting it, but it's the sound. Do you know what I mean? And we talked about showmanship, earlier on, and I think that's what we're about. We want to put on good shows, and we've grown up with that heritage, looking at world dance, looking at the early days when the lasers and the Astoria and everything, and the backdrops and the crazy club and the stilt walkers. You want to entertain people.
Yeah,
that's our heritage.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, mate. The whole entertainment thing must take a lot of energy when you do your live shows.
On stage, I understand now how Shabba and Skibber, when they're on stage, I've watched all of them, you're knackered. I mean, it's taken me 2.5 weeks to recover because I'm playing, I'm singing, and you're curating, you're organising, you're doing the dress rehearsal. It's not just the show. And then you're planning everyone to come on, you're listening to them, you're getting them mic'd up, and getting the sound. Our sound engineer was amazing, by the way. really, really good.
It's such an amazing venue, though, isn't it, Jazz Cafe? You must feel the vibe
so
of
many iconic
knowing
artists
all of the artists that have been there,
I'm
and
like,
there you are.
that's what you release. It's a release. It was very emotional. I was surprised I wasn't crying. But I was, and then you meet people, it's close up. They're there, they can see you. One girl went to me, "What time are you going on?" Right? I went, "Give it a chance. I've just put my guitar on." You know what I mean? But the anticipation, because you have that interaction with people. And I did say, if you're a bit too wonky, just up, mash up, boss up, get to the back, and someone buy them an orange juice.
Do you know, like when you play a set and you're like, you work the crowd, whether it's an hour set or 2 hour set, and you build it, and then you come off, and like, if the set's gone wicked, you're in the buzz, you're in the zone. Is it different doing the live thing?
Of course, because you're detached. Because when you're DJing, you're detached from the crowd because you're behind the decks, and there's a space there. There's maybe a stage, and then there's like some gates, and then that's the crowd. Do you know what I'm saying? But when you're there and it's intimate, they're there right next to you. They're sharing everything you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We made so many mistakes. The computer went off at one point and chucked in another tune to start off with. We're like, okay, we're doing this tune now. But with live, that's how you've got to learn how to do it, because nothing goes perfect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But we just look at each other and go, okay, cool. Because we've been on road now for 3 years together. So we are a tight unit. I've got to big up Mike Stone, my right-hand man. I've got to big up Toddy on drums and Ben on bass. And we are a unit. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all read each other and we can all prop each other up. It's like, if anyone's made a mistake, or we go around again. Come on, let's go around again. So it's just beautiful. I was with them last night. We were rehearsing. We had a really good rehearsal. And it's nice, you know, we bounce off of each other. We're a team. And it's not just me, Billy, that does, whether it's the band or whether it's DJing. I have a lot of people that help the whole Ray Keith experience come alive. Whether that's my agent, whether that's my friends that come out with me, whether that's the crowd. And it's nice. It's nice to have that love and be appreciated.
Yeah.
And makes you humble and makes you feel like we're still doing what we're doing 30 to 35 years later.
And you're doing the band at World Dance, right?
Yeah, the World Dance Connection. Thank you, Jay, for seeing us. He's been to both my live shows now. And Jay's a really good friend of mine. You know, he's a music man. He's a reggae man. He started to DJ now, which is great. I'll tell you a quick funny story. He played at one of my shows in Bristol. I went up there and he's playing first set. And I went, "Bro, where's your headphones, mate?" "Well, I ain't got no headphones." I said, "What?" He goes, "I'll just select the track and then fade it in." I went, "Brother, you need some headphones for that." So I gave him my headphones, and at Christmas, I bought him a pair of proper Technics headphones, you know. And he got emotional on the phone, bless him, because he hadn't opened the present 2 weeks after Christmas. I went, "Joe, have you opened that present yet?" He went, "No, I haven't." Then he opened the present and he was stuck for words. He was proper choked up. And he is so passionate. He's one of these geezers that is like us. But yeah, I'm doing Fox and Firkin on the 11th of July. And then I'm doing, obviously, the Saturday World Dance, which is going to be amazing, August the 23rd. I'm DJing the 24th on the Sunday, which is a bank holiday. Then we do Equinox Festival in September. And then I do the last show of the year is going to be Bangface in November, not unless something special comes up in December. But it's amazing. I mean, big up James. I'll be at the Bangface weekend. You played there yourself.
I played at Bangface years and years ago when they was at Electro Works. Absolutely mental.
Yeah. Well, those festivals now that he's doing, those weekenders are amazing. And we give thanks. They're just good people. Do you know what I mean? And the Ravers, again, a couple of years ago, I'd done a set. They allowed me to play a set 2 hours after... No, actually, before 808 State went live. And I ripped it up to pieces in there for 2 hours. And people just came flooding in. And you know that you know, like when we play for, whether it's Clockwork Orange or Club Orange, or whether we're playing at these bigger parties, they trust us.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beautiful thing, is they acknowledge what we do, and we are at the top of our game. We are part of the matrix now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're the numbers and the drips that come down.
I take the whole heritage thing seriously, and those names you've mentioned, like Clockwork Orange and that, it's we all feed into each other, don't we? And when
our history is connected.
Yeah, all of our histories are connected, even if some people don't see it instantly. But you know, like I know Andy Manston used to go and hear you at Crazy Club days.
And that was nuts. When he said, Fabe, we used to come raving to you. Actually, I'm playing at 338 at the end of the month.
Yeah, we both are, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. And it's so nice for them to bring us back in. Do you know what I mean? To be able to play those beautiful tunes that are emotional to us.
Yeah, and they are emotional. And your children now, following in your footsteps.
They are indeed, including my sister. She was on stage for the first time playing guitar. Low Selector Unruly Grooves. She's now singing with my live band, which is amazing. I want to big up Dorian, and I want to big up Miss Claire Quest. What an amazing outfit they are. They're in my band as well. She's Claire's my singing teacher.
Amazing.
And she's also my daughter's singing teacher. Claire's on some next level teaching. She really is. And I'm like a naughty schoolboy when I do something wrong. She even slaps my wrists and said, "No, you don't do that." Because within singing, you can pick up really bad habits.
Right.
So, and it's all about the breath work, snatch breaths. And oh my gosh, if you listen to Luther Vandross sing Never Too Much, he takes only a few breaths and holds it.
Yeah.
And that's why those songs sound so great. But yeah, my kids... amazing. Mia, she's doing fashion, Milo Vogue as well. So is Lola. She's got doing work with her sister. So they upcycle vintage clothes. So it's just nice. It's nice to work with your family.
Yeah.
And it's great. You know, like you look around and I see my sister and then I see my daughter and I'm like, wow. And I pinch myself because what an amazing platform that we have. Just like Kaya Fire, Rebel's daughter. She's allowed to do that. Look what Mills is doing, amazing things. Look at Logan D.
Yeah.
Smashed it, you know what I mean? And we've got to be proud of these kids. You know, your kids now following in your footsteps.
Well, my daughter, she does, this weekend I'm playing the main room at XOYO, headlining an old school set, and then House and Classics, with no help from me, have booked her to play in the house room with Danielle and Carly Denham and that. And it's a buzz seeing our kids go off, because 1 minute they're telling us when we're misbehaving, like, "Oh, Dad, don't be like that," and bringing us in line, and then being much younger than us and our kids. But then the next minute you see them and they've been listening and learning to what we do, Ray, and off they go into the world, and it makes us proud, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think they carry that heritage and that legacy with them to be free for their own interpretation of what they want to make and what they want to play.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, man. We've been very blessed, you know, for our own kids to have that and be able to have a platform to do that without us going, "Here's my kid."
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
We haven't had to do that.
No,
they have to earn that.
I've told them, you got to earn it. You got to go to the singing lessons. You know, you're a songwriter. You've got to do your bit, just like my daughter. Mia does the clobber and Lola is the artist, and everything fits because they just, you know, my eldest daughter, you know, dresses the other one and styles Lola, so it's all within our realm and our reach.
Yeah, it's good that you get them to, they've got to earn their place.
100%. There's no free pass.
I haven't got my daughter a single gig, not a single gig, and she's everywhere playing. And like sometimes I listen to her out in my music room, and me and Sonia would be like, "She's good. She could go all the way." And all of her bookings, all of them, Ray, not one of them have I got her. And I've had a few mates, like people who me and you play for, go, "Can we have your daughter?" And I'm like, "Well, not through me. If you lot want to book her, you've got to," because she's got to deal with how to work
same
with
as
promoters.
Mills now. She's up and running, and that's how it's got to be. You got to make your own way. You can only teach. and hopefully that we don't want them to follow in our footsteps. We want them to make their own path.
Their own radio. You mentioned Dorian Quest, who's a unsung
He's a G.
legend.
He's been there from day one, bro.
And you got your radio show, Thames Delta.
Thames Delta, I'm there every week, and they're a charity-based station. Incredible people with special needs and learning difficulties. We do special classes and music, environmental friendly for them so they can express themselves, which is great.
I love that.
I've done a couple of classes with people. We've had a right laugh. We've had Q&As. I'm doing some workshops coming up shortly. And then I'm on there with Juice Man in the next month, I think, at the end of June. I've had Navi on there. Everyone's come on with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all about sharing, and that's what that radio station is about. So Thames Delta, up in Grays, we love you. Amazing.
Yeah, I think it's
you catch me on the radio every week, and they allow me to play what I want. I get the Dreadcast and I put the track list up, and I can play right across the board.
Yeah, you talk about the algorithm, it ain't, but I'm always watching Thames Delta, believe it or not. It's one of the main things that comes up because of my interest and what I'm into. And yeah, your show is like a standout show.
Thank you.
And yeah, I want to big up Dorian Quest because he's been around a long time.
He is, and he's an unsung hero, and we're trying to put him on some shows. He makes some wicked beats. He knows. I've been in the studio with him, schooled him up and helped him, gave him some direction, and he's a force to be reckoned with. He's got some banging remixes coming out.
Yeah.
And he's part of my show. He's one of my first engineers on the ground, so he's making sure that everyone's taken care of. He liaisons with their engineer and liaisons back with me directly. So we've got a really good team, and I built this team. He said to me the other day, all I've learned with you, Ray, is you come up with these mad ideas, and then all I need to do is just follow and get on with it. Because you've got to have a vision, Billy. Do you know what I'm
you've
saying?
got to have a vision.
When I said I was going to do the live band, and I did it with Tenafly when he was alive, but that was more of a rendition with all live instruments. I had like 8, 9 people in that band. Now we're stroke analog, stroke digital, stroke live. So you're getting the best of the 360 degrees. And again, it's like building a sound system. When you build a sound system, you get the first version, and then you end up 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 rigs later. And with the live sound, I think we're on our 6th or our 7th template of how we put all this together.
Fascinating.
Because before, it's like you just throw it out there and wait for the curveballs to come back. If it's coming back or not coming back, so many things go wrong. But you learn, and it's almost like acting, bro. And like anything that you do, you learn on the job. And you become better after each film, after the next play. It's part of the growing process of how to learn, as we are DJs.
Yeah. Ray, you've had an incredible life.
Thank you very much.
And I'm
very appreciative for that.
And I absolutely love how through the ups and downs of life, like you take the downs and you make them make you a better person, a more forward thinking, positive person, spiritual. Now the person I know now, you're a spiritual person.
Yeah, 100%.
Ray.
100%.
Completely.
Thank you. And I think that comes from great tragedy and a lot of forgiveness, because I've been burnt in the music business as well in my personal life from different things, an array of things, as most people have. But it's how you manage to get up, dust yourself off, and you go again. Look at Frost.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all proud of Frost.
I don't want to be the poster boy for health, but what I would like to do is make sure that my peers are changing their lifestyles and making sure that they're putting longevity into their career. And I'm doing a lot of sober gigs now. There's so many of those things happening. And that is really important, that people can go out and still enjoy themselves and not get mashed up to like bus up, because you don't need to. You let the music fill you in a different form now. Do you know what I mean? And then you're going to hear it in a different, and it's all about vibration. Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So I'll tell you what, played at Coco Camden, that sound system in there, oh my gosh, that was rattling.
Yeah, I love playing Coco. I get to play there an handful of times a year, and you can feel the heritage in the building.
It's just like, you know, that's what we live for, that bass and that energy in the crowd, you know?
Yeah, we appreciate it more now, don't we, as we're getting older?
Every time is, we've got a shorter way to go, and there's a lot more behind us than there is in front of us. So every gig could be potentially your last gig. You don't know. It's God's will, but if you can maintain yourself and put some good energy, mind what you say, what you're doing, and be positive, that's going to change other people's mindsets that are around you. And what you notice as well, Billy, is the more you get older, the more peace and quiet and less bullshit you want.
Thank you. It's pretty simple, isn't it?
That's it.
It's pretty simple.
Drama to the door.
Yeah.
I'm cool where I am.
Yeah.
And we don't, you know, we embrace everything. We still want to help the people that are struggling, but, you know, it's got to be decent. You know, the vibe's got to be decent. The dough's got to be decent. And you're happy to help.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always happy to help because, like you, I always feel like we have to help the underdogs to keep going and bring in the new talent that's not being shone on.
Yeah.
Because that's really important. Otherwise, they won't get seen. That's why we've won awards for my show, because I really do try and break new artists. And it's not about me. It's not about me and you. We've had our journey.
Yeah.
We've had an incredible journey. But the footsteps that we put forward now is the blueprint. We've already done the blueprint. It's the succession of helping others and opening more doors. And also, when we do those parties, is having an amazing time. Because when you hear that tune, I'm like, I feel it. Do you know what I mean? Like when you play, I can't wait for Orange on Saturday. I really can't. And again, just good people.
Yeah. Ray, we could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours.
We could.
And I say it every time when everyone comes in, we could have part 2, 3 and 4. But I just think there's so much going on.
We'll do it again. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the audience. I think our job is to keep going, keep evolving, and help the next generations through. And there's space for all of us, bro.
Boom. I love you, Ray. Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Boom.